Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing another tag video. The tag I'm going to be responding to is RetroGamerVX's Generations tag. I was tagged by Robbie, aka The Secret Game Room. Basically, the tag asks you to compare successive generations of consoles and determine which generation saw the biggest jump in technology. Rather than saying which generation I've chosen straight away, like Robbie did, I'm going to compare a number of generations in turn, and then give you my final verdict. So, the first generation I will be evaluating is the 8-bit era, here represented by the Master System converter. Graphically, these games look rather crude by today's standards, although you can at least tell what the sprites represent. The limited colour palette of the Master System presented challenges for developers. However, this forced them to try and make the most of its limited capabilities, and some vibrant looking games, such as Enduro Racer, were produced, which showed it was possible to make good looking games using the hardware. Most Master System games were 2D, often using a side-on perspective, although an isometric viewpoint was sometimes used to simulate 3D. I think the Master System was superior graphically to the NES, although both look rather primitive today. Next came the 16-bit era, dominated by the Sega Mega Drive and Super Nintendo Entertainment System. I own a Mega Drive, and from my experience with it, I can tell there was a big leap in graphics from the 8-bit to 16-bit era. The games are a lot more colourful and tend to be more visually pleasing. The backgrounds and sprites are more detailed, and games like the original Sonic the Hedgehog, Rocket Knight Adventures and Fire Shark hold up fairly well to this day. Having said that, the majority of games were still in 2D and sprite based, with early attempts at 3D not faring too well. Aside from the graphics, another technological advancement came in the form of the controller. Whereas the NES and Master System used controllers with 2 buttons, the Mega Drive had 3-button and 6-button controllers, which obviously allowed for a wider variety of different commands. I believe the Mega Drive's sound capabilities were also superior to the SMS, although Mega Drive games still sounded kinda tinny and metallic. Next up is the 32-bit/64-bit era. Sega had made an early foray into 32-bit gaming with the Mega Drive 32X, but as with their CD-based add-on, the Mega CD, it failed commercially. Early attempts by other companies to produce 32-bit/64-bit systems, such as Atari's Jaguar and Commodore's CD32, also flopped, and it was not until 1994 that the 5th generation of gaming really kicked off. The Sega Saturn and Sony PlayStation made use of a new form of media, the compact disc, which offered improved storage capabilities compared with cartridges used by the N64. As well as this, the 32-bit/64-bit era heralded the arrival of 3D graphics, a major step up from the 2D style used by previous games. Games now look much more lifelike, and the move to 3D offered exciting possibilities, particularly in adventure games and platformers. Controllers were introduced which used analog sticks, such as Sony's DualShock, which offered greater control compared with standard D-pads. The final major technological advance to grace the 5th generation was memory cards, which allowed you to save your progress without a password or battery-backed save. Although memory cards had previously been used by SNK for their Neo Geo AES system, this era was when they really came to the fore. The 6th generation, from which I own a PlayStation 2 and Sega Dreamcast, saw more advances in graphical capabilities, although they were slightly more subtle than those seen in the previous generation. Whereas many PS1 games look dated and pixelated today, most games from this era hold up pretty well today in the graphical department. This period saw the advent of online multiplayer gaming. You no longer had to actually meet up with friends to compete against them. The Dreamcast, though a commercial failure, introduced this innovation, which was used in games such as Phantasy Star Online. Of course, this concept has proved extremely popular in recent years, with services such as PlayStation Network and Xbox Live, which leads us nicely on to the 7th generation of video games. The 7th generation has seen HD gaming becoming increasingly popular, with the Xbox 360 and PS3 both offering this feature. Having said that, I think the graphical jump from the 6th to 7th generation was less noticeable than from the 5th to 6th generation. Another huge innovation seen in this era has been motion controls, which had seen limited usage in the past with devices such as the Sega Activator, but has now risen to the forefront of gaming technology. Having played various motion control games using the Wii, I think it is a really cool idea, being particularly successful in sports games such as Wii Sports Resort, as well as racing games. However, some gamers perceive motion controls as gimmicky, and it's true that the technology has not always been effectively implemented. So, now I've analysed all of the generations I've experienced firsthand, it's time to give you my final verdict. Over the years, the video game industry has constantly evolved and offered new innovations, and overall I would say the 32-bit/64-bit era saw the greatest technological advances thus far, with the introduction of 3D gaming, analog control sticks, memory cards and CDs. Whilst the current generation has certainly seen a radical change in game motion controls, I'm not sure this will have much of a lasting impact on the video game industry, whereas the 5th generation definitely did. I'm also excited to see what the future has in store, particularly with the advent of true 3D, as seen in the Nintendo 3DS. Of course, this is just my opinion, and I would encourage you to voice yours by responding to the tag. I'm not going to explicitly tag anyone, but I'm sure it would be fun to do a response if you want to. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed my response. I'd like to thank Robbie for tagging me, and as always, I'll put up another video soon. Bye.